You're listening to Play the King, Win the Day. Today we talk to Rich Bornstein, a video storytelling strategist, a Forbes contributor, and founder of Bornstein Media. He spent his career inside some of the world's most influential storytelling environments, including Warner Brothers, Paramount Pictures, and Samuel Goldwyn Company, leading campaigns seen by millions and contributing to Oscar and Emmy recognized work.
Play the king and win the day. Wisdom to power your success.
Rich, welcome to the show. I'm really excited to talk to you, brother.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. I mean, we've been going back and forth a little bit. Just, we've had a little pre-call. You're an awesome dude. So,
thank you.
So it's kind of an honor to be able to spend a few minutes with you. I can tell that be a fun guy. Let's make a point. When you come out to LA, we'll have a bourbon and a cigar. We'll be good. So
I would love that. My sister lived in Malibu for a while, so I got to spend some time out visiting her, and love LA area. So I'm going to take you up on that.
What a terrible place to live in Malibu, right on the beach. I mean, that must be awful.
Yeah, she's a smart one of our crew. She graduated from Harvard, went to Pepperdine Law. And when I went out there, I was kind of the jock guy. I had gone to 5 or 6 colleges. I liked the girls in the Southeast, so I just went to about 6 different schools. But so I met her at Pepperdine, and when I went up to Pepperdine and saw all those 5'10", 5'11" blondes walking around with a lot of money, I was like, oh my God, this is why my dad wanted me to study in high school. Like, he knew what he was talking about. So. Anyway.
Well, okay. I don't want to go down that path because we could get off the point.
Absolutely.
But thank you for that nice intro. Listen, I realize that what is the central theme of everything I've done throughout my career? What is it? It's positioning. It's grabbing people in the lead. Like when I was a journalist, what if you didn't grab people in the first sentence or two, they weren't reading your story. Okay.
Right.
Now I transfer to the studios. Okay. Is it a great Shakespearean movie or a great film based on Shakespeare?
Right.
Okay. I always opt for the latter. Who the hell wants to go see a great Shakespearean film except for 3 academics, in London, you know what I'm saying? But they will go see a great film that happens to be based on it. And, fast forward to today, Hamnet is just a great film. I mean, listen, I used to be, Shakespeare was like my middle name. And I got to admit, I worked with Kenneth Branagh for a long time, and I'm going, God, a Shakespearean movie. So I was a little reluctant to see it. And someone kind of grabbed me at the gym and said, Rich, see the damn thing. And I did. And it was fantastic. Why was it fantastic? Because it had heart.
Yeah.
Okay. It just happened to be based on Shakespeare and his wife, fictional. And it was just like, okay, it was the heart that brought to it. So I realized, okay, now that I'm out of the studios and I'm running my own business, the same principles apply. It's like you need to speak from the heart, speak authentically, speak with clarity. And what is your position on things?
Right.
It's not the what, it's the why.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. There's 1,000 people that do it that you do, maybe 10,000,
Yeah.
maybe 100,000, maybe 1,000,000. But you have a secret sauce that sets you apart. And that's really that's my goal. And video is the number one thing in life now. I mean, who's reading anymore? I mean, I hate to say that. I got shouted down. I've written 6 books. I resent that. But the reality of it is people are not reading.
Yeah.
They are, they're getting their things in, increments of 60 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever they can digest while they're on the go. And that's why I concentrate on the video, but with a twist. And that is, start with your why. Everything else will follow.
Well, what you and I, so, just haphazardly, we ran into each other on LinkedIn or whatever it was. And you had written an article that was just another article was just published in Forbes. So congratulations. You're not just doing this, you're an author. And so you had to read a little bit. Your background as a journalist. So don't fool everybody, Rich. You're an avid reader, but really, you had sent something and said, what do you think about this? And as someone who had not been on camera a lot, I've been a business guy my whole life. you've been on Zoom calls and go to meetings and all this good stuff, but I was never forced to do anything like this. And, we just happenstance got into a brand, wanted to tell people stories. So I had to get comfortable in front of the camera because I don't think it's natural for people to kind of talk what I say into the abyss. Right. And you were asking me, well, why do you think the video is good? I said, well, because you can see my facial expressions. You can see if I'm excited. You can see if I'm genuine. You can see if I don't like what you say because your eyes don't give it away. Your face doesn't give it away. So I was just really intrigued with what you were doing in the executive space and helping people because it is awkward. It's very awkward to do this when you start out.
Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I mean, between you, me, and your millions of listeners and viewers of this thing, I can't stand being on camera myself. This is
Right.
something that I do. This is what I've been
Right.
doing, throughout my career, basically. I mean, not when I was a print journalist, but certainly at the studios, it was shepherding these people to go do interviews, and that was part of my thing, and setting the strategy, and then now it's like, hey, Rich, if you're gonna preach this stuff, get your butt on camera.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, what do I notice about myself on camera? I got a 5 head as opposed to a 4 head. Oh my God. I hear my own voice,
Yeah.
okay? And it's like, so I have to have somebody interview me, okay? Otherwise, it's like words that I've written, it's like I get tongue tied,
Yeah.
okay? So it's the art is blocking all that out, okay? It's not performance art, which is what people think.
Right.
It's just getting rid of the noise and having the courage of your convictions and doing it. And
Right.
guess what? I can, we're going to get to some examples. You know, when you speak authentically from the heart, that's what's going to get through to people.
Right.
The great performers, and we don't need to go down that path about who, the great performers are that we see every day. It's like, there's no there. Okay.
Yeah.
But in business, there better be a there
Yeah.
because otherwise people are going to tune you out so fast. You're not even getting to the next level. So that's, that's what it's important. And look, we all have flaws that we would, like, don't really like ourselves on camera. We're not
Right.
perfect. Hey, okay. I mean, I hate to tell you, some of the people that you saw, before or after without the right lighting or without makeup or whatever. And we're not going to go down that road, but we all have flaws.
Yeah.
The idea is just to get through all that, block that nonsense out and speak from the heart, man.
Yeah.
Really figure out what your messaging is, figure out what the truth is, and then identify that and go through it. So, yeah, I mean, you have to, Brad. I mean, you've gotta take the next level. Yeah, and yes, I do read, and yes, I've read a lot, um, because, I mean, I even think I have some books on me. They
Yeah.
just haven't gotten out there yet. But yeah, it's not like I sit there and just look at, TikTok videos all day.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I don't because once you go down that road, that's all you do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Well,
I can't do that.
I love how we just had David Meltzer on, and he was talking about persistence with purpose. And so when I saw your clarity with purpose, right, based on your clarity framework of how you kind of help people, guide people, teach them to do this, it made a lot of sense to me personally. And I think what's hard, as I would say, as an executive, specifically in a bigger company, right, where you've got marketing, you've got PR, you have all of these influences that are just hitting you from all areas about this is a message. And most of these messages are marketing BS. Right. We put the whatever, we put the Y and Y or whatever the trendy bullshit is. And the hard thing I think is for someone to say, like, I don't know if I believe, like, I understand what we're doing from a marketing perspective, but I've got to tell, the world, like your why, like you were saying, really, why is this company in place? Why did I join this company? And a lot of times I don't think people know because they've been sold so much marketing or positioning or, the market data says this. And I think that would be very hard for a Fortune Fortune 100, Fortune 500. Just your thoughts on that.
Okay, well, okay. So the previous piece I did on Forbes actually was about executives being on camera,
Right.
and they're being handled by their handlers, the
Yeah.
marketing people, their publicists, whatever. And I say you got to strip away that nonsense. Just
Yeah.
what you said,
Yep.
strip it away. Okay. So in other words, what are the issues that are there? Instead of going to your stump speech, instead
Yep.
of go, oh no, we're working hard to address all your concerns.
Yeah.
No, you hit it head on. We
Right.
know that there are some challenges today, okay? We are not, our bottom line is not where we want it to be.
Yep.
We realize there are factors. We are addressing those things.
Yep.
And here's how we're doing it.
Yep.
Do we have all the answers? No, we do not. But we are addressing it by doing this and this and this.
Right.
Now all of a sudden your audience they're gonna, prick up their ears and go, oh, the guy's not full of it.
Yeah.
Okay. He's not talking in platitudes. Listen, when I was at a studio, they did one of their purges,
Mhm.
and and we knew what really happened. They called after firing, like a lot of the workforce. I don't know the numbers anymore. They called us all into the studio theater and they said, okay, congratulations, you just made the cut. But now listen, any negativity that comes out of here, you're going to be fired immediately.
Yeah.
And we're looking at each other going, dude, the reason you're sitting up there talking to us is because you were negative. And, so we knew,
Yeah.
we knew the story behind the story. He lost the room at that particular moment instead
Right.
of like hitting it head on. Listen, we've hit some rough times. We're looking at our schedule going, we don't see where the hits are coming from. So as tough as it was, we had to do it. That would have been honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And look, we had to get rid of people because let's face it, we're only as good as Wall Street allows us to be.
Yep.
If our stock goes, down, down the toilet, then then we're down. We're done too. That's honest.
Yep.
Okay. So that's positioning. So, but I did have to look in the mirror because I laughed because I realized one of my favorite pieces that I ever did, one of my favorite stories that I've ever told was something that I call beautiful noise. I mean, it had everything. It had everything. I mean, it had young, energetic people that, that were scientists. So they were brilliant in their own way. Okay. They were very articulate. That was fantastic. Major network person behind it. Okay. So there was a lot of credibility to it. They said, here's 6 or 7 of our finished episodes that we shot. You go do your thing. Create a cool 2-minute sizzle for us because we need to get this out there. It was one of my favorite sizzles ever. It was incredible. I loved it. To this day, it's still one of my showcases. Why did it fail? They hadn't done the work. They hadn't asked themselves the hard questions. They were just worried about presentation.
Right.
And they were shot down because they took the shortcut. They didn't do the research. They used stock footage to prove their points. So the people they were going after said, "The hell do we need this for? Just because they're interesting people on screen? No, there has to be if we're going to do this, there has to be something behind it."
Yeah.
And so that taught me that lesson, and that's one of the things that led me to what I call the clarity framework, and that's like anytime I talk to somebody, whether an executive, a founder, somebody in a position that, where their voice matters, I always ask 3 basic questions. Okay. So what insights are we building on? What's the one job that this video has to do? I mean, those are pretty straightforward.
Sure.
What do you actually believe? Not what do you want to believe, what do you actually believe?
Sure.
Start with those 3 questions. Then we can get to it.
Yeah.
Now, I've been around enough to know, let's pull those nuggets out. I mean, I love it when I'm sitting with somebody and they go, you've done your homework. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, then I know that we're communicating and they know that I'm just not reading from a list.
Absolutely.
I work with the guy. He he likes to do the interviews and then, sometimes says, well, the paper says this. I can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The paper doesn't say anything. You know what I mean? It just reminds me of what it is. So there's natural follow-ups that that you need to be aware of. So if you can't answer those three things honestly, then you're really not ready to get in front of the camera, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You can fake it, you can try. Maybe, maybe some people won't recognize it, but I think in today's sophisticated world, they know.
Yeah.
They know when you're just shooting from the hip, when you're not really committed and you're not really telling your stories. And so that's what the clarity framework is about. It's pretty simple, but I've gotten some pretty, amazing comments from people. They go, "Wow, like, yeah, yeah, that's interesting."
Yeah.
So it just comes from a lot of experience. And listen, not everything goes smoothly. You have
Yeah.
some people that are just blocked. They're
Yeah.
not going to give it to you. I mean, I interviewed somebody, no matter what question I asked him, he answered whatever the hell he wanted to.
Yeah.
No matter how I phrased it, didn't matter. So, you're gonna run into stuff like that.
Yeah.
you know?
So I'm just curious, like what you think. So the world's kind of, first of all, in storytelling, in previous things we do, I've always thought it's one of the things I liked doing a podcast around these artists and stuff is because it was really just kind of, let's hear your story. Like let's hear it, right? Let's tell the people your story. So I think the art of storytelling is kind of been pushed aside from a traditional culture perspective, right? I truly believe that. I think we need more grandpas, more uncles telling stories about, hey, this is what your dad was like, or your mom, or your son, or whatever it is. We need that kind of storytelling, just natural to us, not like it's being pushed on us. But I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think about now? Now the push is back to really kind of the individual, build your own brand. Right. So now you're going out and it was the influencers. And now we're saying, Susie or John or Steve or Rich, you got to build your own brand. Like you are your brand. You need to be able, like, what do you feel about that movement as what it's going to do to just kind of the proliferation of everybody just trying to be a superstar or whatever? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, okay, you hit on a lot of points there, so let me try to break it down,
All right.
a little
I,
bit.
I got
Okay.
it. I got ADD or ADHD. I didn't get
No.
medicine, Rich. I just got a spanking. So you got
Yeah,
to.
yeah. I think we're part of that same generation. Although, hey, he's got a lot more gray than I do, guys.
He
I
does.
do
He
this
does.
just for effect.
He
Um,
does.
no, look, it's who wants to be lectured? Okay, nobody.
Yeah.
Who wants to be sold something? Nobody. Who wants to be told it's good medicine? Nobody. And
Right.
so, what's the way that people will identify you? What's the way that people are going to fall in love with you?
Yeah.
What's the way you're going to get an emotional connection with people? You're going to tell a story. Okay, it's like it should be a no-brainer, but it's not.
Yeah.
When you put the why up front, I look at something happened to me, and I realized this is what this was my life calling. Okay, whether it was a negative thing or a positive thing. I mean, I'm going to talk to somebody that had something really negative happen to her, and she turned it into a positive in her
Yeah.
life. That's a pretty powerful statement,
Yeah.
as opposed to, oh well, I do this and I do that and I do this. So you do. Everybody has a unique set of experiences. You didn't wake up one day and say, "Yeah, I think I want to host a couple podcasts," and I'll bring in somebody. No,
No,
it was something that evolved. And you brought up a point. I don't want to piss off anybody, but I'll run the risk.
it's
The whole
okay.
the whole influencer stuff drives me nuts.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, what's an influencer, right? I mean, they're trying to influence you to do something that you may or may not want to do. I believe speak from your heart, be
Yeah.
authentic, and then what, let the chips fall as they may. Like on that this piece that just ran in Forbes. I had a friend of mine that I've known for years, and he wrote me, and he was being funny. He basically said, when did you become so hip? Well, I don't consider myself hip, but I didn't answer him seriously. I said, once I got over the fact that people may or may not criticize me, they may think that I'm completely, full of it and, certain things. Okay. All right. But, if there's 10 people that think that, but there's 10 people that think that like, what I have to say in terms of the thought leadership. Okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like my friend, the late Robert B. Parker said to me, he goes, if you believe if you believe the positive reviews of my books, then I got to believe the negative reviews. And I choose not to believe any of them. Well, I don't necessarily go that far because we wouldn't be human,
Yeah.
if when we get the criticism, if it didn't sting a little bit.
Yeah.
But the idea is just step out of ourselves. And if we have something to say it and say it with conviction and say it from your heart and say it with authenticity and say it with clarity.
Yeah.
And then let the chips fall. I mean,
Absolutely.
look, I can listen. This is our first conversation or one of our first conversations. I can tell you're a charismatic guy. You're a great guy. You're very personable. And that comes across. You don't have to tell me that. Are you gonna send me your bio and say I'm charismatic and thoughtful and whatever?
I'm the last person really that ever wants to be on a video, if you want, which is funny because all my close friends are like, what are you doing? And I was like, really, this is not about us. Like we said we were going to honor people. We said we were going to highlight people, and no one else is stepping up. So as soon as someone else in our organization wants to take it over, I'll go back in the corner and do my thing. So I think it's a reason a lot of people think you're doing things for publicity or whatever. That may be true in a lot of cases, but a lot of cases are like, hey, look, we were taught when you were younger, if you're going to, sometimes you don't want to be the leader. You don't want to take control, but if no one's going to do it and you believe wholeheartedly enough in something, well, no one's going to do it. Somebody's got to do it. Congratulations. One of my kids who helps with our Fight Talk podcast, he said, Dad, do we really need to be highlighting these fighters? I said, congratulations, you have your own podcast show. He's like, what? I said, I'm not doing it. I don't have time to do it. That's your passion. Roll it. And we all kind of laughed here because you got to do stuff outside your comfort zone sometimes. And, whether we're changing the world with this, I don't know. But if it helps somebody, great. That's what it's meant to do.
Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, we can't be all things to all people.
Yep.
Some people aren't going to like you because of your name.
Yep.
They're not going to like you. They're not going to like you because they don't like your headphones.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, well, live your life. Okay, great.
Hey, don't shit on the Carpathian Rusins now. Those are fighting words. You start knocking the Carpathian Rusins.
Yeah,
We're coming
here
out
we
of.
go.
We're
Like I said in our previous call, I have to look that up. I don't even know what that is.
You'll love it. They're called the People Without a Home.
And I've read my Lermontov and Pushkin and Gogol, but I don't know. But any of that stuff. So, but seriously, if we live from here, okay, again, we can't just always be spewing, whatever our first emotion is.
Right.
I mean, that's ridiculous to think that. But if we figure out the authenticity and we figure out what we're really trying to say, and we say with conviction and emotion because we truly believe it, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, I agree. I think good people are good people, and not to I'm not trying to promote David Meltzer's book, but he wrote a book called Don't Do Business with Dicks, and it was a very controversial title, and he said, hey, I didn't really want to name it that, but the publisher said it. And the reality of it is you would look at it and think, oh, wow, this is going to be off the wall. I read it. I do read. People in Georgia do read. I even though, other people don't think we do, but I read it and it was all good things, right? It was all positive things. So sometimes you got to dig a little bit deeper, I think, to find the good stuff. So I think what you're doing is pulling it out. Which
is another great point that you make up. Sometimes you got to walk away. If it doesn't feel right, you got to say, I appreciate it. I'm walking away. Give you an example. I was at a shoot and, so we were trying to create the brand, enhance the brand for this guy. For no reason, the guy went off on his wife. And I mean, just like lost his shit. Okay. And my camera guy goes, I'm not sticking around with that. Like no way. I mean, at what point is he going to turn on us like that? And then
absolutely,
we're going to have to defend ourselves? Like, really?
Yeah.
So I said to the guy that was overseeing it, I kind of took him aside and I said, look, we're done. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, I'm sorry. This is not what I signed up for. We're really uncomfortable. You know, if I say something, if I ask him a question now and he, you know, and he goes nuts, I'm not putting myself in that situation. And I got to tell you, my camera guy wants to leave already. The only reason he
Yeah.
hasn't packed it up yet is because he was afraid of the reaction. But guess what? We're not going forward with this. And he said, okay, I got to respect that. And, you know, look, it was money. I mean, I left money on the table, but
Yeah.
it was so uncomfortable, Brad, that we knew that there was no way. And look, I had already made the trip. I already made the hour and something trip
Yeah.
down to do it. We had already set up. We already started. We already shot half a day or more. Okay. But something about it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
So I think that's what, I mean, I didn't read the book, but I think that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
I think, you know, part of it is sometimes you got to have the wherewithal to say, you know what, this doesn't feel right. And it's just,
Absolutely.
and
I-
it's not something that I want to do. And I think that's what he's saying. Don't do business with dicks. It's
Yeah,
like,
he is. I just was bringing that up as far as like
Yeah.
you gotta like the whole storytelling. Sometimes you've got it's like the hardest thing to be is yourself sometimes, and then the easiest thing to be is yourself. So you got to make the decision. Just either be yourself all the time, right? Don't make it too hard on yourself, and that's a real struggle for people. But let's be honest. You came out of the movie world and the production world, and a lot of the stuff's fabricated. It's la la land bullshit that like, hey, 99% of the world doesn't live like this, yet you project this. So it sets an example for some people that think, oh, that's the way it should be. Well, in a pretend world, yes, but in the real world, not so real, right? So
really, you're saying that stuff's made
hey,
up?
not shit on your.
Oh my God, you saying stuff's made up? Are you kidding me? You know, can I get the check, please?
Hey, I'm not shitting on the movie business. I'm just telling
No,
you, yeah. So
please. I mean, listen, this is what I always maintain because they always say, oh, you know, they always refer to people, oh, you're so Hollywood or this or that or the other thing. Listen, I always maintain this.
yeah.
The people that are the most quote unquote Hollywood, the people that are the most quote unquote LA, they're people from elsewhere.
They don't
Okay.
live. Yeah, they don't
I
even
mean,
live.
you know what I mean? They might move
Yeah.
here, but I mean, I mean, I can give you example after example. I go, what? Who
Yeah.
the hell? Like who are the worst drivers? They come from elsewhere. I mean, like, please. Of course, now it's changed, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, yes, I agree. You can't drink your own Kool-Aid, you know, and you really can't.
I shouldn't have gone there.
No.
I took a slight knock at it. I shouldn't have.
I'm not defending it because I could tell you some stories, you know, that whatever, and you're right.
Well,
But listen, people are full of shit in business too.
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, I mean, you want to go down the list? You know, what guy on TV do you want me to tell you?
We better not because
Yeah.
some of those are your customers and my customers. So we
Yeah.
need it. We need it.
I'm just saying. So again, the point being is you got to have your own filter. You
Yeah.
got to know what doesn't feel right, and you got to know what's authentic. In business, it's just important.
Yeah.
Start with the why. Figure that out. Okay. Look, I've been doing this on my own for 20 years, you know, which is weird because I'm only 29, but
I was gonna say,
you know,
shit, you were 10 when you started.
yeah, well, you know, yeah, we're right. So, but you know, it's taken me a long time to identify who's my super consumer, you know, who's my super customer, right? And who's my secondary, because one of the things I ran into, well, what industry what industry are you focusing on? I don't focus on any industry.
Yeah.
Everybody needs storytelling.
Absolutely.
You know, listen, as a journalist, I became a student of whatever I had to write about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I was a sports writer, but you know, I did other things. I had to find out as much of it. When I got to the studios, you know, I didn't know who Robert B. Parker was. You know what I mean? And then I fell in love with the whole genre of, you know, the literary fiction, you know, the literary detective fiction.
Yep.
It became one of my passions in life simply because I was going to work on a project. It turned out to be Spencer for Hire. And you know, with Robert Parker. Listen, I helped, I did the marketing for American Gladiators when I was at Goldwyn. Okay. I mean, you have no idea the calls I got. George Will would call me. What is this? Is the demise of civilization? What's going to be next? Public executions. It was nothing. It was nothing of the sort. It was real. And I maintain that American Gladiators was the first real reality television
Yeah.
series. I don't believe that without American Gladiators, now people can hoot and holler, you wouldn't have American Idol. You wouldn't have The Voice
Yeah.
because it was legit. You know, one of the things that we learned, every one of those personalities was scripted, okay, when we were first getting started. And some guy got launched. One of the characters got launched. The guy, the guy got kicked in the head and he had stitches. And he came back and they said, "Well, what'd you do, man? We saw you get, we got stitches and all this." And he goes, he goes, "Oh, I just hung out on the beach. I had some babes and it healed itself." And I watched the media literally just say, "Oh, this is bullshit." And then we did a huddle and I said, "Okay, let them have personalities, but let's stop with this, with their character stuff."
Yeah.
And that was a big turning point in that show because everything was real except their personalities. And then boom, once we got rid of that nonsense, the show took on a new level.
Yeah.
And if that show were today, where we weren't relying on time periods and carriage and things like that, we'd have the biggest hit in the history of mankind because there were so many elements that work perfectly for social media.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
you
Like
know, but-
UFC, the
yeah,
biggest pre
but
UFC.
that's exactly right. So, you know, you have to you have to be aware of your surroundings and and you got to be, you have to be aware that things are real and
Yeah.
not just sit there and, oh yeah. I mean, can you imagine the guy says, I mean, I guess we should have known. Yeah, I had some babes, I had some rays and then whatever. Again, it was great. The guy was a great guy. I'm not
Yeah.
making fun of him. That was what that was what he was, that was kind of what he was scripted to do. It just wasn't real. And people knew that,
Well,
we
it
watched him get launched 25 feet,
yeah.
like,
Well, I mean, it sounds like good therapy to me, though. I mean, like if I get hit in the head, that would be a cool thing to do.
yeah, no, exactly. But you're not on national TV, and you're not competing. But I think
Yeah,
what I'm saying
I do.
with that
I
kind of
do.
stuff. So there's an awareness, and I think maybe that's good. Sometimes it's great to be aware. Maybe sometimes, as I was saying earlier, stop being so hyper aware of yourself. Just get yourself in front of the camera and just maybe it takes you a while. Maybe it takes your friend to interview you. Maybe you need your spouse to sit there and ask you questions.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it takes. So
Yeah.
I admire the people that can sit there and talk for 10 minutes and I don't see any cuts in the video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm pretty well trained, if I see a jump cut or whatever.
Yeah.
So I can't do that. There's no way I could record anything for 10 or 15 minutes and, just have a stream of content. I don't care if I have the bullet points in front of me. It
Yeah.
ain't happening.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a stutter, a flub, or I'm misspeaking some words. Always. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
the people that can sit and do it to where it makes sense, hey, my hat's off to them because that's an art and it's a talent that I don't have.
Yeah. Well, what are just some tips like for since we, really talking about Bornstein Media here and what you guys are doing, like what are some tips that you would give away just for people other than the why, what we just talked about, but is there any 1, 2 tips like how you should, get comfortable with it? Should you start just doing some stuff on your own social media just to feel comfortable with it? Just like what how do they train themselves? Because I'll say you eventually it's not maybe you get better, but you get used to it and you get comfortable with it. So you're like, yeah, I have a list. No one's going to know about it. Who cares, right? So people laugh, but like I had to go to speech therapy from the time as far as I could remember as a little kid, and I can remember they didn't have like speech therapists on site. So when I was in 6th grade, I had to go in and I didn't get to go to recess, right? I never got to go to recess. I'd have to go to speech therapy. And I can remember the day the lady's like, "You're done. You don't have to come anymore." I didn't give a shit about spitting on people or people making fun of me. All I wanted to do is play outside at recess. Like that's all I wanted to do. There's no. So what do you tell a couple people to help them get through this stuff?
Well, one of the things that I just referred to. Some people can't just turn the camera on and be any good.
Yeah,
So a good trick is to have somebody talk to you,
yeah,
have somebody interview you. You know, you can do it on Zoom, but record yourself locally.
yeah,
Okay, and that way you get better quality video, but you're also the person. they have to be able to answer. Have to be able to ask a follow-up question. You said this, but I think you mean this, or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you can respond to it. I always say that the best videos is feel like you're eavesdropping on a conversation. That's
Right.
why I really don't like talking directly into the camera.
Yeah.
Okay. It's because that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, sure, at the moment, if you have a call to action, you want to talk directly in the camera, great. But I
Right.
think you're eavesdropping on a conversation. Picture that. They're
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're the plant on this, on the side, just
Yeah.
sitting there eavesdropping on it. And then you get a sense of what that is. So that brings a comfort level. And the other part of it is, I've had people tell me, your first 50 videos are going to suck. Sorry, I don't want one video out there that's going to suck. So you just got to keep at it.
Right.
Okay. You can't just settle for something. Now, at the same time, you can't just be the ultimate perfectionist and go, oh my God, I had that hair out of place or whatever. That's insanity. Okay. But at the same time, whatever you're putting out there is an extension of you.
Yeah.
Okay. You've got to be okay with it. It may not be perfection, but it's got to be a reflection of you to where you're comfortable with that. So again, if it takes somebody to bring that out of you, fantastic. It
Yeah.
doesn't make you a bad person,
Yeah.
whatever. And then listen, I leave myself some bullet points all the time. Okay. My little triggers, because let's face it, when the camera's rolling, and I get on a roll about something, maybe I forget to, oh God, I forgot to bring up that point. Like,
Right.
I mean, listen, when we're done, I'm going to realize, oh man, I forgot to bring that up. So that's just human nature. But
Yeah.
again, bullet points help you. If you script yourself, then what does that sound like? It's a
Yeah.
script. But if you have bullet points and you're just going, oh, okay, yeah, I want to talk about this. Okay, Brad. So tell me about that, that experience when you went to the speech therapist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, again, that obviously had a lasting impact on you.
Yeah.
Now, it could have done two things. It could have destroyed you to where you would have, wanted to go under the carpeting all the time. But no, you used it as a positive in your life, and you realize it's not going to define me and it's not going to defeat me. It was a challenge that I had to overcome. Okay. I mean, listen, one of our heroes had the worst stutter in the history of mankind. Who was that? Bill Walton.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
And I had the opportunity to spend, a great day with Bill Walton. Okay. And Walton taught himself how he could survive in the media without stuttering.
Yeah.
And, he worked with, people like Nina Foch and whatever. So a lot of times there was a run on sentence with Bill,
Yeah.
because that was how he overcame that. But he was truly one of the most remarkable people I've ever spent time with in my life. I mean, we drove up to Mickey Hart's house from San Francisco, and Mickey Hart from the Grateful Dead. So he did it. I watched him do his radio. It was when I was doing some work for ESPN. I watched him do his radio show, you know, and so I got it. Then I interviewed him for ESPN afterwards, and then he was just an honest, fantastic human being. And even though later in life he became more of the I love my bike and all that kind of stuff. Great.
Yeah.
But all that was him. And he thought, okay, if that's just an extension of me, that's fine. Like it or lump it. Because he's
Yeah.
Bill Walton. You know what I mean? Bill Walton. But life was just because he was, 7 feet tall and if he could have stayed healthy, would probably have been the greatest basketball player to ever walk the planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That thing could have defined him. But it
Absolutely.
didn't, because he did the work.
Yeah.
And he overcame whatever that stumbling block was. We all have them.
Absolutely.
You
Well,
know,
it's part of
every one
life.
of us, it is part of life.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people have everything laid out for them?
Yeah.
And if they do, they don't appreciate it, because you
Absolutely.
can't. You can't appreciate it if it's laid out for you.
Yeah.
Which is why I believe, there's a whole pushback in today's world about, oh, nobody needs college. Nobody needs this. Listen, I'm not one of those people. College is a way. It's the first time in your life that you're on your own. It's the first time in your life when you're scared, most likely.
Yeah.
It's the first time in your life when you have to deal with happiness and loneliness and setbacks and just things that are normal life to where you have to deal with them as a human being. To me, that's what college is. You learn
Right.
something along the way, you're gonna. Because why? Because you got to go to class.
Right.
Is it going to be A, B, C, D? No, it's not. But you have that opportunity. And what other time in your life can you be with people around your age to where you can have those kind of experiences? Never. Because the
Right.
older we get, but we want material things.
Right.
We want money. We want a job. So
Yeah.
let's enjoy it and let's become people. Let's explore who we are.
Yeah.
And I have to laugh because when I was in school, they sent out these things for Dianetics. I didn't know what the hell Dianetics was. And then all of a sudden I realized, holy crap, I was this close to attending some sort of seminar for that. I'm like, oh God, thank God I didn't.
Yeah.
Because it was like, be a better person. And yeah, who
Yeah.
doesn't want to be a better person at 18 years
Yeah.
old or
Yeah.
19 years old?
It,
Right?
yeah. It sounds great.
Yeah, but so again, it's a way to explore. I mean, listen, I didn't grow up liking Shakespeare. My dad was probably the anti-Shakespeare. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're reading Russian literature. What the hell? Who's Raskolnikov? Who's Raskolnikov? Whatever. Like, really? Are you nuts?
Yeah.
Let's read the sports page. Okay, you know what I mean? So you know, it wasn't just you better read, big guy.
Yeah.
It's the only way you're going to
Yeah.
learn stuff. It was something that just evolved. I mean, I met some charismatic people. I mean, I was a journalist, so I always thought nonfiction. I
Yeah.
had one of my English professors say, "Yo, you should try writing some fiction." And guess what? He goes, "I'll I'll give you feedback. Just I'll edit it." You know what I mean? So you're not working in a vacuum. Really? Really?
Yeah.
Again, it was just something that I was exposed to, and we kind of hit it off.
Yeah.
I'd taken his Hemingway class, and then we had done some. We had just been able to chat as human beings.
Yeah.
My Shakespeare professor was simply because I went and had some tea at his office hours.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, what do you want to be?" I said, "I want to be a sports writer. I want to be the greatest sports writer ever." Got a gleam in his eye, and he went, "If I can reach you, I can reach anybody."
Yeah.
So now, so in the middle of class, he'd say to me, "Rich, picture this as a locker room scene, you know, from Shakespeare." Okay.
Yeah.
Now, was I embarrassed? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it embarrassed the crap out of me that he was, but it showed me that there was, more out there than going to cover the game and, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And,
Well,
and
it
then,
it, sh- it shapes you, it rounds you. I mean,
right,
it's okay to have multiple interests and also be influenced by people that you're like, hey, I'm never going to do this. I have you know, no clause to do this in my life. I'm not capable of doing this. But yeah, I mean, same thing. I've worked in construction for a while. One of the best things ever happened to me. I've had 10 thumbs. I mean, I can't put a box together. Like
right,
I'm terrible, but it was good. It makes you appreciate like, wow, these guys are talented. Like there's
right,
no way I can do what they do.
right.
Thanks for the memories. It
Yeah.
shapes you.
Yeah.
It
No,
shapes
no,
you.
absolutely. And like I think I said it earlier, one of the people that I've worked with, he was reluctant. He had a very thick accent and he didn't see how storytelling was going to help him. And I just said, look, w- and what he was doing was very unsexy. Data management. I mean, like, could there be anything more boring potentially than data management?
Absolutely
I
not.
said,
I
I
can
said,
vouch for that.
you have a story.
Yeah.
You have a lot. And once people know where you're coming from, you're no longer just a guy that has a business solution. You're a guy that's passionate.
Yeah.
And, so the piece is one of my favorite ones. I mean, is it the most sexy? Absolutely not. But he says, back in the days, back in the days when water was, everything was in the power plant or whatever, that was the most important thing. Boom. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what illustrated it. And he says, so
Absolutely.
the power of data. If we all
Yeah.
work from the same playbook, now we're successful. But if you have
Absolutely.
30 or 40 or 50 different spreadsheets, you're never going to be successful. So
Absolutely
again,
not.
where you don't think there's a story, there are stories. And you just have to uncover them. That's where the work comes in. They're not always apparent. You don't always go, put your head in the pillow at night and go, I got 100 stories. Sometimes you got to fight with yourself and
Yeah.
figure out where those stories are. But they're there. They're
Ab-
there.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm grateful to hear your story and what you've done in your life, which you've done quite a bit. And we really appreciate you being on this podcast and you sharing the story. So if you're out there and you're trying to get into better storytelling around your brand, yourself, your business, or just how to deliver the why, right? So I'm confident in Rich now that I've known him for about 40 minutes that Rich Bornstein and Bornstein Media can definitely help you. And Rich, I'm going to take you up on that trip out to LA and smoke some cigars and drink bourbon, and then I'm going to hit my head and we're going to go to the beach, and some chicks are going to take care of me and make sure that I'm better.
Isn't your
How
wife
about
listening? Isn't your wife listening to this, Brad? I
she,
mean,
my wife, God bless her. She's the greatest thing that ever happened in my life. I've been married 36 years. She knew I was a nut when she married me, and I'm still a nut. So she says I got myself into it.
here's the great thing about Brad. I'm just going to tell him, Brad, I hope you don't mind me telling your secret.
Oh, good.
Brad's really worried about his looks, but he looks damn good standing on his wallet. So I know that we're going to have a good time when we are there.
Oh, that means the Georgia guys pay. The Carpathian Rusins got to bring the checkbook.
No, we can still deal with cash here.
Well, Rich, you have anything in closing? You've been awesome, buddy, and I really appreciate you being on the show, and I love what you're doing. And like I said, just happenstance. This was something that we just kind of crossed paths, and I saw what you were doing, and I could associate that with kind of what I went through with trying to do this stuff. And I just thought it would be awesome for others that are getting ready to go on that journey or try to figure this stuff out.
Well, first of all, thank you, man. It's been great. I get the feeling we could talk for another couple hours and never repeat ourselves. So maybe there'll be another opportunity for us to, get back and do this again. Listen, everybody needs a sounding board. Everybody needs to step out of themselves when they're in business. So if anybody feels like this is something that they want to do and they have a true interest in video and they have a true interest in expanding their brand, let's have a call. I mean, again, I, I open myself up because I'm not a therapist. And a lot of people, think that I'm a therapist and they get a call from me, but no, if you have a true interest in creating brand video and expanding your brand and telling your story and starting with your why, I'd love to talk with you, man. I mean, if I was talking to the younger Brad or the other Brad before, I think we'd come to some sort of meeting of the minds very quickly and realize, how we can accomplish some things together.
Well, absolutely. So in closing, this is not a pitch for us, but I'll do it anyway, since it's our show. So we just launched a brand owned broadcasting platform, right, called Row1X. So it is formed for companies, brands. So our number one guy that's going to come in and help you tell your story is a guy named Rich. So we're going to introduce you to Rich, and he's going to make the platform work amazing for you and make your fans happy, make everybody happy. So Rich, I think you and I will have plenty to deal with and talk about, and no objective here other than tell the world what you're doing. And I read your articles, and I read them all now. So I'm a fan. You've got a fan with gray hair. So I'm sorry. I'm sure as soon as all this gets out, all the chicks will be calling you from Georgia. But we'll wait and see if that happens.
Yeah, okay, here we go. Yeah, and let them hear you call them chicks. That'll be good too.
They're not. They don't get offended. Okay, young ladies, women, lighten up. It's humor, people. It's humor.
Right. Listen, if anybody, seriously, you can check me out, bornsteinmedia.com, or you can look at my YouTube channel at Rich Bornstein Official. Check me out. It's okay. LinkedIn, I'm there. I'm prominent on LinkedIn, or I try to be. And, if we have something to discuss, let's discuss it. All we have are ideas and time. And, if I can help get you to the next level, that'd be fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, you're very humble in not going into all the work you've done, right, with like we talked about Warner Brothers and other areas. So I mean, this is not your first rodeo. So he was pretty humble in not going through all the work. He had a couple Grammys in there and Oscars that they were around.
No. There were Emmy nominations. No, I've been part of Oscar campaigns.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he was part
and
of
it. And there's nothing worse when your film doesn't win and you're in the John and you're listening to, we won the effing Oscar. We won the effing Oscar. I mean, like you're going, we didn't, so, I mean, you're happy to be there,
Yeah.
but you know, at the
It's
same time, when you have to listen to the gleeful people that are winning, it's
yeah.
not the most, you know, pleasant experience in the world. But you know,
Well,
it's okay.
well, you're a sports guy because you're a sports journalist. So
I was.
the reality of it is it takes a team to deliver wins or results. And you
Right.
may have a star quarterback, star actor, actress, whatever you want. The reality of the people behind it are the people that won that. So they don't get recognized quite a bit. But so, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. You were listening to Play the King, Win the Day, and Rich Bornstein with us. Rich, you've been amazing. I appreciate it.
Play the king and win the day. Wisdom to power your success.